Next up, we have James Forrest. James is a record-breaking adventurer who climbed every mountain in England and Wales in just 6 months, the fastest ever time. Solo and unsupported, he walked over 1,000 miles and he climbed 5 times the height of Everest during his 446 peak challenge. And this is the cool part. Sorry, it's all cool, but this is the coolest part. He did it all on his days off from work, proving that it's possible to integrate epic adventures into everyday life. So please welcome James.
Thank you, Al. I'm here today to convince you all that to go on a big, grand, epic adventure, you don't actually need to be rich, to have 12 months off work, to travel very far, or in fact, and this might sound a little bit weird, actually be very good at adventuring. This is how it was for me. When I started my adventure, I had absolutely zero technical adventuring skills. I basically didn't know how to use a spork without breaking it in half, had no idea how to navigate in the mist, I didn't know how to forage for berries or abseil down a cliff, or I was unable to sleep in my tent unless it was perfectly horizontal. Every time I tried to go bivvying, I think the maximum amount of time I managed to sleep was like 3 minutes, 42 seconds. I was scared of pretty much every animal that I encountered. I was scared of the dark. And no matter how hard I tried, I just couldn't grow a rugged adventurer's beard. So these were just terrible credentials for an adventurer. Anyway, I was living, but none of that mattered. I was living in the Lake District with my lovely wife, Becky. I had a job. I was working 4 days a week for the national park. And I had this wanderlust kind of fueled desire to go on a big adventure and to do it while sticking to my job. And I stumbled across these 2 books. They're called The Mountains of England and Wales by John and Anne Nuttall, and they list all 446 mountains over 2,000 feet across the 2 countries. And this kind of sparked an idea in me. I came up with this plan. I was going to try and walk all 446 mountains in the summer over a 6-month period. It was going to be the fastest ever time to complete those mountains, and I was going to do it, like Al said, in my days off from work. So I started kind of researching it. I was going to have to walk over 1,000 miles. I was going to ascend 5 times the height of Everest. I was going to try and sleep wild in the mountains up to 50 times. It was a daunting prospect, but it was incredibly exciting as well. And I phoned up my brother, Tom, who lives in Birmingham. He's not a very outdoorsy person. And I said to Tom, what do you think about peak bagging? And he said that he thought you could only go peak bagging if you're a middle-aged man in an anorak who didn't have a girlfriend. So maybe I wasn't going to be a cool adventurer, but I was going to be an adventurer nonetheless. So yeah, I set off, and it didn't start as I would have wanted. Pretty much the first 100 mountains I climbed, this was the only view that I got. It was like mist and fog, and I was just absolutely battered by our lovely British weather. Luckily, I had some high-tech gear to keep me dry, aka the plastic Aldi sandwich bags. But yeah, I was being pummeled by torrential rain, the strong winds. It's just pretty terrible way to start it all. And yeah, I had a few low moments. I was thinking, am I really cut out for this? Have I got the technical skill to really be an adventurer? I was like falling asleep on top of mountains. Did I have the physical fitness? Did I have the mental strength to get through all of this? And one of the lowest moments was actually on one of my first wild camping trips. It's a pretty terrible photo, but my tent collapsed at 3 a.m. on top of a mountain in the Brecon Beacons. I woke up basically face down in a muddy, peaty, foul-smelling swamp. I just woke up thinking, what the hell am I doing with my life? Anyway, I carried on. As I kept going, my confidence grew, and I was just beginning to really enjoy it. And I was living this kind of strange double life. I was Monday to Thursday, I was at work, doing my everyday job, trying to convince my wife not to leave me for the postman, but then I was spending all this time in the mountains, and the time in the mountains was just absolutely phenomenal. It's time for escapism, for freedom. It was time for getting back to nature. It was a time that really helped me to kind of de-stress, unwind. It was great for my physical and mental health. It was a time for epic wild camping trips, amazing sunrises, amazing sunsets. It was time for climbing beautiful exposed summits, feeling like the only man on earth. It was time for walking these glorious sweeping ridges. It really was a fantastic time. So I kept plodding on and on and on. Finally, I reached my final summit, again in the mist. It was Scafell Pike on September the 15th, was my final mountain. I'd made it. I'd climbed all 446 mountains across the 2 countries. I'd done it in 6 months, the fastest ever time, and I'd done it on my days off from work. And what did this whole kind of experience teach me? Well, it taught me that in this world we have now, this internet-obsessed world of Instagram likes and tweets and Netflix binges and all the rest of it, that actually if you turn off your phone, if you grab your hiking boots and if you go climb a mountain, the life is actually far more rewarding, it's far more fulfilling, it's far more joyous. I just absolutely loved it, and I'd encourage you all to do the same. And I just want to finish with a brief quote from one of my heroes, a man called Alfred Wainwright, a famous guidebook writer and fell walker in the Lake District where I live. And he said of his time in the mountains, "I was to find a spiritual and physical satisfaction in climbing mountains and a tranquil mind upon reaching their summits, as though I had escaped from the disappointments and unkindnesses of life and emerged above them into a new world, a better world." So I'll just end by saying that I'd encourage you all after this talk, when you get home or next weekend or what have you, to turn off your phones, grab your hiking boots and go and explore that better world. Thank you very much.